Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kate and today I'm going to be doing my TBR for a readathon that I'm participating in January. So the readathon I am participating in January is TBRathon, which is hosted by Leandra over at Leander the TBR Zero. I'll have her channel linked down below, and I'll put the readathon announcement in the cards just in case you're curious about that one at all. I love how much work she's put into this readathon, and there's a couple different options that you can choose for TBRathon. There's a really fun mood reading map, there's a bingo board, and then there's the game board, Paws and Bookshelves, which is the one I ended up picking just because I wanted a fun game to start the year with. Will I actually finish the game? We'll see. Fingers crossed. But I will be rolling all of my rolls for that. I will pick books and then I'll do some weekly vlogs so that I can keep track of my progress as we go through the readathon. So this game is going to be very similar to Chutes and Ladders, if you're all familiar with that, except that it's ladders and then falling book stacks. So we'll see as we go. So for my first square on the game board, I got one person on the cover, and for that I'm going to pick an arc that was on my list for January because it comes out on January 7th, and I'll post a picture here. It is Breath of the Dragon by Shannon Lee and Fonda Lee. All I know about this is that it features a martial arts tournament and kind of follows some of the philosophies of Bruce Lee's training. I'm very curious to see how this is. I'm hoping that my love for martial arts will make it a new success for me. So my second roll got me debut book. I'm going to be adding the 300 pages additional prompt for this one because if you look at the game board, you'll see all of the dogs, and as you pass the squares for the dogs, you can collect them so that you collect all of them by the end of the game. So debut book is the one I landed on, and for the Yorkie, I'm going to do under 300 pages, which gives me Silver in the Wood by Emily Tesh. This is not one that I own physically, but it is a novella. I knew I needed to have some novellas in here. That all I know about it is that it has some kind of queer romance in it and takes place in the woods. My friend Alba has recommended this novella to me frequently. I've just never ended up picking it up, so this is the perfect time. Roll number 3 gave me blue cover, and for that I'm finally going to be doing one of my physical books, and that is All That Is Wicked by Kate Winkler Dawson. This is a book club selection for the Morbidly Curious book club that's run over on Instagram. I'll leave a link to them in the description for this. All I know is that it involves a Gilded Age murder, sort of a historical true crime, which had me definitely curious, and I like having a nonfiction book club to mix things up for my reading. Roll 4 gave me a hyped book. This is one that I've seen on a number of best of the year lists from people that I follow, and that is House of Bane and Blood by Alexis Menard, I think is how you say the author's name. I'll put a cover here since I don't own that one physically. I have that one on Kindle and Audible, so should be an easy one for me to get to. I have had mixed success with romantasy, and this is supposed to be romantasy and steampunk melded together, so I have a lot of hopes for this one just because I've seen it on so many best of lists. Roll number 5 gave me Cold Cover, and this one was an easy one because I knew I wanted to sneak this in during the month of January, and that is going to be Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. I've had this on my TBR for literal years and never gotten around to it, but it's a wintry book. It needs to be read in winter. I mean, I guess I could have saved it for summer when I want it to be winter. But I think I will really enjoy this. I didn't love Naomi Novik's other sort of fairy tale-esque novel, Uprooted, but I really loved the first book of Scholomance, so I have more faith that Novik could be for me. Roll number 6 got me D, O, or G in the title, and gets me the Dachshund for my little doggo collection. And for this one, I am going to be doing another book I don't own physically, which is Along the Razor's Edge by Rob J. Hayes. Another one that has been on my TBR for a very long time, especially thanks to recommendations by Covers with Cassidy over at Covers with Cassidy. So, really looking forward to finally getting to this. I have the audiobook because that is narrated by one of my favorite narrators of all time, Moira Quirk. I really don't know much about it other than that it fits the prompt for our fantasies. Shoot, now I can't remember the name of the prompt, but basically it has to be underground or under the ocean. And that the main character is a bit scrappy. And I think sassy's maybe not the right word, but violent. Keyword violent. So I am very hopeful this will also be a win for me. Roll number 7 got me Book Rec, and this is one that I had on my list. I'm going to be doing a video where I try out booktuber favorites, and I had one from Angela from Literature Science Alliance that I actually ended up with multiple special edition copies of, but hadn't gotten around to reading yet, and that is The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Katherine Arden. As I said, I have this edition, which is the Barnes & Noble edition. I also have basically every book box edition they did of this one because I loved Katherine Arden's Winter Night series, and this one follows a brother and sister during World War I, which is a time period that I find very intriguing. So I have such high hopes for this. I really hope I don't end up having wasted my money on not liking this, but I do tend to like historical fantasy, so fingers crossed. Roll number 8 gave me Cold Word in the title, and for that I'm going to be using In the Shadow of the Fall by Tobi Ogundiran, I believe is how you say their last name. This one was an anticipated read for me last year, and hilariously, I don't really know anything about this except that it involves Orishas, which sort of come from an African mythology and is not something I see very often in fantasy, so I was very curious to check it out. Even paid for the very expensive Tor.com novella, so finally gonna get to this one. And I'm counting it for Shadow, by the way. That's my cold word. I mean, maybe a little bit of a stretch, but I don't care. Okay, so getting pretty far along this board now. I have Favorite Trope, which I am going to pick one of my recent book box books, and that is Hammajang Luck by Makana Yamamoto. I love this edition, by the way. This is the Illumicrate edition, and it is so pretty. I think the UK cover generally is much better than the US one, but this one is particularly cool, and I'm just going to take a moment to show it off because I think it's amazing. They did a sort of Guardians of the Galaxy style end paper on it, which is super fun. And then it is a cyberpunk heist story, so they have this really sweet cover, naked hardcover for it. So, like I said, this is a cyberpunk heist story. It has been compared to the Locked Tomb, which is one of my favorites. Locked Tomb and I think Ocean's 11 was the other comp that I saw for it. So this is one of my most anticipated books, and I'm really hoping it doesn't let me down. Again, fingers crossed. I almost made it to the end, but of course I hit the timber square, which means that I will be dropping further back down the game board, and I have to do the lowest rated square, and this was an easy pick because I think this is the lowest rated book I've ever owned in terms of Goodreads ratings, and I hadn't yet unhauled it, and that is Nothing But Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Khaw. I don't think I've seen anybody like this horror novella, but it's really short, and I figure I'll give it a shot before I actually unhaul it. All I know is I think it involves a haunted house, and I'm not sure exactly what it is that people hate so much about this book, but we'll find out. Well, if I had to hit timber, at least the next square that I hit is mood read. And for that, I'm going to be picking something that I have been seeing pop up in some bests of, has been directly recommended to me by some friends, and honestly just feels like such a Kate book. And that is Strange Beasts by Susan J. Morse. I'll try not to flash this cover at you. This is the Goldsboro edition, which has some pretty sweet edges there. And of course, I flashed the cover more at you. This is a sort of historical mystery that looks like it has some paranormal elements. It involves the main characters are related to Sherlock Holmes and Van Helsing, I believe. Okay, so totally wrong on that. It's Samantha Harker, so daughter of Dracula's killer, and Dr. Helena Moriarty. So related-ish to Sherlock Holmes. I have extremely high hopes for this. It takes place in Paris, and I think it will be, I think it's supposed to be fairly dark, but I hope it's a fantasy mystery blend that works for me. Often those don't work great for me, but I keep trying because those are two of my favorite genres. And of course, I just had to open my mouth, and the next roll gave me a long drop, which is an even further fall down to the 400 plus pages prompt. Thankfully, this is one that I already knew I needed to read this month, and that is The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. Well over 400 pages. I've had this for years because it's so hyped by a lot of people here on BookTube. I've been a little scared to start it, to be totally honest, but I do own this. I also own the audiobook version by Michael Kramer, which I've heard very mixed reviews on. All I know is that it is fantasy that is inspired by the history of the Han Dynasty in China, so I am both nervous and excited to finally get to this one, and the reason it was already on my TBR is one of my goals for 2025 is to attend the sci-fi fantasy book club at one of my local bookstores, The Tattered Cover, so I will be completing that goal by getting to this one. So I hit blue cover again, and I am cheating this one slightly, and I am in no way apologetic for it. And for that, I am picking The Butcher of the Forest by Premee Mohamed. This has been recommended to me and has been on my TBR since it came out. Another anticipated read I didn't get to. And if you look at that cover, it's got teal trees on it, so I think it counts. And this game is getting really long, so I don't actually care if anyone considers it cheating. This is what I'm doing. And of course, I had to hit lowest rated on its own without me actually getting to one of the book stack falls. So cool. For that, I'm tired of adding books to this TBR, so I picked my next lowest rated novella, and that is Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones. I have picked up a whole bunch of books by Stephen Graham Jones because I really like most of his horror. Some of it works less well for me. I'm less interested in the slashers, but and all I know is that this has some kind of prank in it that goes horribly wrong, but we'll find out. thankfully, I then hit mood read, which makes this a little bit better. And for that, I'm finally going to be getting to Lightfall, The Dark Times by Tim Probert. This TBR is just going to be all the anticipated books from 2024 that I didn't get to, I guess. This is the third book in the Lightfall graphic novel series, which I would highly recommend. It is a fantasy middle grade graphic novel that focuses on this sort of grump sunshine relationship between a very anxious young girl and the creature she ends up teaming up with, who has very much like a sunshine himbo vibe to him. So I am very much looking forward to being caught up on this one, and thankfully another short read. The next one is another cold word in the title, and for that I'm picking another novella because I'm no dummy at this point, and that is Six Gun Snow White by Catherynne and Valente. This is another novella I've had for a really long time. I know it's a sort of fantasy western blend retelling of Snow White, so I'll be very curious to check this out. I think the main character is half crow and half white, so it'll be interesting to see. I guess maybe it's not fantasy. Maybe it's just a western. It says Mythical Wild West, so I don't know. We'll see. And in what is like the worst luck for this entire game, I don't understand how this has gone on so long. I hit Timber yet again, which means I get to do the lowest rated. And again, I'm cheating slightly because I have like 18 books on this TBR so far. And I am picking an anthology that is my lowest rated anthology, because one of my other 2025 goals is reading some of the short fiction and anthologies that I have had on my TBR for a long time, because I find that I don't get to those as often as I get to the novels. So I am picking up Cyberworld, which is a cyberpunk anthology, relatively short one, thankfully. So we'll see how this goes. So I got another hyped book, and that is going to be The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. I'm going to be participating in the read-along that Stacy from the chapter Conundrum and Jake from the Bookish Drummer are doing for the Gentleman Bastard series. I don't own this physically anymore, so I'll post a picture. I am going to just do the audio for this one. I have previously tried to read The Lies of Locke Lamora, and I really liked it. I just hit a reading slump and never picked it back up again, so looking forward to finally getting back to this and hopefully having a great time. The next one is Mood Read again. I guess the game board punishes me but also rewards me here. And for that, I'm going to be picking up a reread of The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. You're just going to get to see all my goals again. Another goal for 2025 is to finally finish the First Law world. So not only the original trilogy, but the standalones and the new series, Age of Madness, I think. Because despite having First Law on one of my favorite series of all time lists, I've never completed the whole thing. So making that happen this year. So this will be an easy one to add on because I can just listen to the audio. I really, really enjoy the audio by Stephen Pacey, so easy read for me. Hopefully actually getting to the end shortly here. I got Cold Word in the title again, and for that I am picking Snowblooded by Emma Sterner-Radley. This is yet another one that was on my anticipated list last year that I did not get to. Oops, sorry. I will attempt not to flash that cover at you. I need to get better at that. And this one, all I know about it is that it involves rival assassins who maybe go the enemies to lovers route. Not totally sure. I picked it up because it's assassins and there's sword fighting. I've heard mixed reviews for it, so that makes me a little bit nervous, but I'm still hopeful I'll really like it. And I think it's in sort of some Scandinavian-esque fantasy world. So we'll see. Definitely snowy. So at least I don't feel like I'm cheating on this one. Okay, and thankfully, bless the game board gods, I'm finally done with the final square of 2025 goal. And for this can be either a book or an activity. Thank you, Leandra. So I will be choosing the activity version of this so I don't have to add yet another book to this very long TBR. And I will be attending the book club meeting for The Grace of Kings at my local bookstore, because that is the other half of that goal, is to actually attend the meetings. So that is my absurd TBR for TBRathon. Let me know if you're going to be participating in this. Please give me sympathy for what I will be embarking upon in January, and let me know anything you're excited about reading. I will see you in the next one. Bye.